Thank you for listening to The Actors Room. Please subscribe to the show in iTunes and leave comments and reviews. The show is also on Facebook, Twitter, Google Music, Stitcher, and TuneIn Radio. The website for the show is theactorsroom.libsyn.com. The site gives you access to all past episodes. Enjoy the show.
Welcome back to another episode of The Actors Room, and this is going to be episode number 17. And I can't believe it's already 17. It feels like I'm approaching number 20 very soon. And it's going to be right in the middle of the holidays, or let's see, it's 17, so that's 3 weeks away. Yeah, it'll be probably around Thanksgiving before Christmas, and that is it's just a very special time for me and my family. I try to make a point in making the holidays the best that we can. We decorate a lot around here. We got a lot of Christmas lights throughout the years. We've owned a home for at least, 10, 15 years now, so we've accumulated lights and sculptures and things like that. So we really do go all out in making the holidays kind of special around here. And it also just seems that the kids they're getting to that point. Well, I have a 14-year-old and I have an 8-year-old. And I have to take in every second, every year, because it just seems like they're growing up so fast. And before I know it, they're going to be too old to even appreciate just being around the family. You know, as teenagers, they're just not going to really care. And I get it. I was probably the same way. And then, we'll have to wait until they get older and then they'll appreciate it again. But they're going to have their own families. So I am going to do the best I can to enjoy every second of the holidays from here on out, no doubt about it. I've tried in the past, but it just dawned on me just that before I know it, they're going to be all grown up. And that special feeling of Christmas, and especially for my little one, she's going to be getting to that age. If she's not already there, I don't know, but I still think she believes in Santa. And when that is over, that magic of Christmas, man, it's so special. And hopefully I will be able to enjoy it once again when I have grandchildren. I don't want to think about that right now. That's way down the road, right? Way, way, way down the road. But just to point that out, I'm getting a little bit into the holiday fever, so to speak, because, you go through the grocery stores or any store and you're seeing Christmas stuff up already. So it is there. It is that time of year. So happy holidays, everyone. Have you? I was at the mall yesterday. Holy shit. It was so crowded. There are people shopping already. I mean, the parking lot was filled with cars. So people are getting into that holiday spirit already. I mean, might as well, right? Get a head start. I mean, if you wait too long, you are in deep shit. I used to wait until the day before Christmas Eve to shop because I was a complete moron. But that's what I would do. I hate shopping. I do. I hate shopping. So I would always put it off. And now it's a beautiful thing. I just use Amazon because that's the way to go. They ship it right to you. You don't have to go out. You just go online. And it's the greatest thing ever. So that's what I do now. And it's wonderful. And so there you go. But here we are, episode number 17 of The Actors Room. And we're going to do something a little different this week. I decided to kind of get away from highlighting one specific artist or film. I'm getting a little bit, not tired of it, of course, because I'm going to keep on doing that. That's the main part of this show. But I've done this for, this is episode 17, so that's 16 straight times. So I was just sort of like thinking, I'll do something different this week. Mix it up. I don't know. I just felt that it was time to do something different. So I did. So this week we are going to go ahead and play certain clips that I felt were fascinating, worthy to listen to, something to take notice and just enjoy. Listening to some artists talk about their acting, what acting means to them, what it has done to shape their life, or just advice to some young actors or anybody that appreciates great film, so on and so forth. So I hope you enjoy this show. Like I said, something different, and taking a little break from highlighting an actor. So here we go. Episode number 17, The Actors Room. Marlon Brando.
When an actor takes a little too long as he's walking to the door, you know he's going to stop and turn around and say,
"Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn."
Jersey Joe Wilcott, terrific fighter. He'd be boxing, he'd be throwing some punches, and bing! He'd have his fist in somebody's face. You'd think it was going to come out of the southwest, and there it comes out of the northeast. He would never let you know where he was going to hit you.
You!
Never let the audience know how it's going to come out.
What is your name?
Get them on your time. Emiliano Zapata. And when that time comes and everything is right, you just fuck let fly.
Oh, judgment, thou art led to brutish beasts, and men have lost their reason.
hit him, knock him over. With an attitude, with a word, with a look.
I don't like cops.
Be surprising. Figure out a way to do it that has never been done before.
You got to put something down. You got to make some jive. Don't you know what I'm talking about?
You want to stop that movement from the pop going to the mouth.
Cry havoc! And let slip the dogs of war.
Get people to stop chewing.
That this foul deed shall smell above the earth.
The truth will do that. Damn, 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 damn. When it's right, it's right. You can feel it in your bones.
Then you feel whole. Then you feel good.
It was pre-60s. People were looking for rebellion, and I happened to be at the right place at the right time with the right state of mind.
So in a lot of ways, he revolutionized acting because he, as he describes, you know, we had these kind of preset notions. When you went to the movie theater back then, of course, there were far fewer actors to choose from, and they were studio stars, and they all had a persona, almost like, and he described them like boxes of cereal, like flavors. And he never wanted to do that. He never wanted to be predictable, right? And so he, but in so doing, he also, I mean, he started with Streetcar Named Desire, right? He started on stage, and that almost killed him because he was so intense. Tell us about that. That's so before he goes to Hollywood to break up the boxes of cereal, he hits Broadway and blows everybody's minds, right?
Yeah, that was it. I mean, he wanted to get as far away from possible from the old school, where he thought people would sort of, you know, just playing themselves or versions of themselves, or they would be overly theatrical or just histrionic in their acting style. And just to mention, it's very interesting. When I was doing my research, the one scene, which is a famous scene, but where he's opposite Vivian Leigh in Streetcar, and in that moment, you can just, you know, you don't have to look any further to see the difference between the style of acting which Brando was introducing and the previous generation. And just you know, there's a clip
Where he walks towards camera and puts his head on the wall like that.
I used to know it's in fact
Or when he's angry.
when he first meets Blanche.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
Joe in Streetcar.
Yeah.
And that one, when you see that scene, it was incredible. You know, kind of how loose and lithe and manneristic he was, and just always, you know, just trying to just making things as real as possible, which was the method. But Streetcar, when it was in Broadway and as a theatre show, was I think incredibly destructive as far as he was concerned personally, because he gave his all, and he was he was the artist, he was the perfectionist. Being on stage every night was just too onerous for him. You know, he'd have to really...
Because he'd have to go to that place. I mean, I think about it, you have to go through all of those emotions if you're somebody who's going to commit 100% of yourself to a role. Every single night, he's feeling all that pain. He's that angry. He's that vulnerable every single night, you know. And for him, he was far too sensitive for it. But what's amazing is he came to New York. This man came to New York feeling dumb and inadequate, feeling like he had holes in his socks and holes in his brain, I think, or something. He says something like that. And it was Stella Adler who in many ways was the founder of modern day acting, and really set the rules and regulations for, and sort of the process that you can't really be a professional actor and escape Stella Adler. She took him in, like, to her home, you know, and this really, as hard as it was for him, gave him his start and a foundation that is so solid that he's able to then not fall for Hollywood's antics and see it as, he says, in the kingdom of the blind, the man with one eye is king. He sees that it's money, money, money that all Hollywood cares about, and he holds that authenticity. He kind of holds that line.
Tom Hanks.
Being an actor was a thing that was a very solitary pursuit for me, because when I started going to the theater by myself, when I learned that the theater around San Francisco and Berkeley was a lively and inspiring hotbed for my imagination, I ended up going alone more often than not. Yeah. And I went there, and what I was studying somehow the entire gestalt of, there are people here who are here for one reason and one reason only, and that is to pretend to be other people on this stage. And for the next 2.5 hours, I will be in their thrall. I thought that was not only a noble pursuit on their part, but also really quite a magical one that didn't exist in any other realm as far as I was concerned. Yeah. And being not a poet or a painter, I said, wait, that's something that I would like. If I could be a part of that, I would think myself the luckiest man in the world. Yeah. And so you start pursuing it, and I was a stage manager, and I hung lights in school, in college, but I was lucky to go to colleges that did a lot of shows, which might not be the case now. Mm-hmm. And before I knew it, I was invited to drive across the country and start up a three-year both apprenticeship and a professional relationship with a rotating repertory company in Cleveland, the Great Lakes Theater Festival. And when I was there, I thought, well, this is it. This is the be-all and end-all. And you do that for a while, and you think, is there any way that I can expand this horizon of mine? Well, I had really great, smart, dear friends who said, if you want to be an actor, which you sort of are now, there's only one place for you to be, and that's in New York. And so I went, and luckily by the dent of obliviousness and blind luck, stumbled into enough kind of meetings where people said, well, you know, everybody else is okay, but that guy, I don't know, he's funny or loud or looks, you know, he's got big enough hair, so let's bring him in on this other stuff. So what I'm saying is that there was never anything other than a desire to do more of it, as opposed to a single-minded sense of pursuit.
Inspirational words by Denzel Washington.
Thank you very much.
I am particularly proud and happy about the young filmmakers, actors, singers, writers, producers that are coming up behind my generation. In particular, Barry Jenkins. Young people understand this young man made 10, 15, 20 short films before he got the opportunity to make Moonlight. So never give up. Without commitment, you'll never start. But more importantly, without consistency, you'll never finish. It's not easy. If it was easy, there'd be no Kerry Washington. If it was easy, there'd be no Taraji Henson, P. Henson. If it were easy, there'd be no Octavia Spencer. But not only that, if it were easy, there'd be no Viola Davis. If it were easy, there'd be no Michael T. Williamson, no Stephen McKinley Henderson, no Russell Hornsby. If it were easy, there'd be no Denzel Washington. So, keep working, keep striving, never give up, fall down 7 times, get up 8. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. So keep moving, keep growing, keep learning. See you at work.
Now here is some acting advice from Bryan Cranston. And just to say a little bit about Bryan Cranston, one of those actors that really surprised me with his performance in Breaking Bad. And I say that because I was kind of a fan of Malcolm in the Middle, and although I liked that show very much, and I really loved his character in that show, it was such a pleasant surprise to see him grab hold of Breaking Bad and that character he played. And although I did not originally like that show, I watched maybe the first 2 episodes and then said, not for me. And then people just kept telling me, give it another shot. Give it 3, 4, 5 episodes. I guarantee you, you will be hooked. And I was, and it is one of my most favorite shows ever. Right beside Lost. So, Bryan Cranston talking about acting.
Well, the best advice for fellow actors is this: know what your job is. About 18 years ago, I had this cognition that I realized I was going into auditions trying to get a job. And that simply wasn't what I was doing. It wasn't what I'm supposed to be doing. An actor is supposed to create a compelling, interesting character that serves the text. You present it in the environment where your audition happens, and then you walk away, and that's it. Everything else is out of your control, so don't even think of it. Don't focus on that. You're not going there to get a job. You're going there to present what you do. You act, and there it is, and walk away. And there's power in that. And there's confidence in that. And it's also saying, I can only do so much. And then the decision of who might get a job is so out of your control that it really, when you analyze it, it makes no sense to hold on to that. That, to me, was a breakthrough. And once I adapted that philosophy, I never looked back. And I've never been busier in my life than once I grabbed onto that. That's it. Good luck.
And here is the marvelous Meryl Streep talking about how she goes about her love for acting and preparing for roles, so on and so forth. Meryl Streep.
You've said that in trying to find a character, you look for what comes out of the eyes.
I think I meant that in connection to working. I don't feel like I exist until I'm with someone
A partner?
else. Yeah.
How important is listening?
It's everything. And it's where you learn everything. And I always think of acting, I mean, when I was applying to law school and thinking, well, acting is a stupid way to make a living, and it doesn't do anything in the world, but I think it does. I think there's a great worth in it. And the worth is in listening to people who maybe don't even exist, or who are voices in your past, and through you come through the work and you give them to other people. And I think that giving voice to characters that have no other voice is that's the great worth of what we do. Because so much of acting is vanity. So much of this is, I mean, this feels so great to come out here and sit here and have everybody clap. But the real thing that makes me feel so good is when I know I've said something for a soul. You know, I've presented a soul.
Clint Eastwood talking about Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah, well, you know, Jimmy Stewart had this ability, even though he was known as a guy who was very gentle, and the guy with the rabbit, imaginary rabbit, and he would do, and playing the light Philadelphia Story kind of movies, but he did have this great touch with his own anger. And when he did an anger scene, you felt a genuine anger kind of, developing inside of him. And though he wasn't he was a fairly tall, rangy man, but he wasn't a big man. He always managed to reflect that on the screen. You felt that he could be capable of a tremendous meanness if necessary. And I think that's what propelled him along so successfully in all those Anthony Mann westerns over the years, because he was always the reticent protagonist who'd come along, and he'd all of a sudden, he was Mr. Nice Guy, and then when crossed and when wronged, he would step forth and really let loose. And I think he did that almost better than any of his contemporaries of that day, Wayne and Cooper and some of the other, especially the men who played westerns, but even the Bogarts. Maybe Cagney would be very explosive, but he was explosive personality, and you sort of expected that out of him. But Stewart, it was always held back to the last moment, and maybe that was that holding back to the last moment that made it so effective. But I think he just managed to be able to draw on himself when necessary.
This is Christian Bale talking about auditioning. Being on the movie set, knowing that everybody around you is very committed to the movie that you're making, having the correct clothes on, being able to completely immerse yourself in the part is so much easier than having to do an audition. Because firstly, I'm going along and I'm still Christian, I've just stepped out my car, I'm here for an appointment, am I here at the right time, I'm sitting in a corridor, I'm looking across at the other actors, I know that I'm competing with them. That's just a bad feeling, If you're ever feeling like you have to compete with someone else instead of just with yourself, I always give a lousy performance. I don't think I've ever given a single good performance in an audition. Now, this one is Tom Cruise talking about the ability to let go in order to get in tune with the character and the process of filming. And I found this one to be very interesting, and I think this was on the Actors Studio with James Lipton.
Although I've never really had formal training, I've had this ability I guess not ability. It was luck to be able to work with the people that I've worked with, and just the ability to look at and find what works for me. I do a tremendous amount of research before every picture. It doesn't matter. I work very, very hard to get to the point where you just let go, and it just happens, and all the mechanics of just fade away. We do that because that's our writing. It's not about the lines. It's what goes underneath. We're writing the subtext. That's our jobs. I'm doing this film now with Michael Mann, and my character talks about jazz, and when I read this line, this is acting. It's, that it's behind the notes. It's what's unexpected. It's improvising. Here as actors, we have this structure. You have the lines, the scene, the story. But ultimately, it's what do I want? I want to fly with the character, and what story do I want to tell with this? And it's us writing that subtext and creating that. So, when you talk about Rain Man, or you talk about moments like that, we just look for those moments. They just happen. You can't plan. Because sometimes you try to plan things like that, and it just doesn't happen. And you start forcing moments as opposed to just living, because it's about being the character. It's about creating that character and being there and finding it, just happening on those moments. When I'm doing a scene, I'm not thinking about anything else. I've done all my work, and I'm there at that point, allowing myself to be affected by the people, by the environment that we've created. It's really finding that freedom within the structure of a scene, so that you can have moments like that where Dustin Hoffman leans across, or you're just connected. That happened. That's the movie. Those are the moments that we all, me as an audience, that are fresh and moving to me.
Here is Robert De Niro with some rare insight and also some acting advice.
Yeah, and it's simpler than you think, and it's very hard for actors, and I get caught up in that myself, where you have to do more, do something, and you don't have to do anything, nothing, and you're better off, and it'll work the way people are in life. They don't do anything. They could, I'm talking to you and I'm looking at your expression, and you could have been told that somebody in your family was this or that, some terrible thing. You're still going to have the same look on your face, and that says more, allows the audience to read into it as opposed to you telling them what they should feel. And actors tend at times to try and say they have to give it something, and they don't have to give it anything. So with David, if we're just working and working and doing all these things, you don't have time to think about, well, this or that, or how do I spin it or interpret it. You just have to do it, and it'll take care of itself.
Next up is Alan Rickman, who we lost recently, and it still hurts. What a voice Alan Rickman has. And here's a little insight on something he had to say in relation to young actors approaching him about acting.
Whenever young actors now say to me, what advice do you give me? I'm thinking about training, I want to be an actor or whatever. I say, forget about acting. And I really mean it at that point in time, because whatever you do as an actor is cumulative. It's about, so I say, go to art galleries, listen to music, know what's happening on the news in the world, and form opinions, develop your taste and judgment, so that when a quality piece of writing is put in front of you, your imagination, which you've nurtured, has something to bounce off of.
Yeah, and your uniqueness.
Yeah, and then you have to start learning about courage, I think.
Courage?
Yeah, because you have to be courageous with yourself on stage, I think, emotionally. I was talking about this morning, actually, because I watched a while ago, jumping about here, but I watched one of those TED Talks with Jill Bolte Taylor, talking about having...
She's been here.
Right, when she had a stroke.
Right.
And she's there on her TED Talk, holding up a brain and showing the two halves of the brain and saying, here's the analytical side and here's the imaginative side. And it made me think that actually one thing that actors and dancers, singers, musicians do is to actually use both sides of their brain at the same time, because you have to hand yourself over completely to whatever are the emotional demands of a part, but certainly and in front of a film camera, but certainly on stage, there's this kind of Geiger counter, this laser or something that is at exactly the same time assessing what's happening out there and what's happening there to the person you're talking to. And did this word land, or now that one didn't land, now I'm going to have to pick up that word. But at the same time, the bit of you that doesn't know it's lying, because of course we're divided from the neck up. It's just a load of lies. But the rest of you has no idea that it's lying. So that's the punishing part of acting, is taking the rest of your body into this strange place that it finds it hard to recover from.
Al Pacino on the basics. Here is Philip Seymour Hoffman talking about acting and some character roles and what they mean to him. And boy, do I miss this guy. Truly a very wide-ranged actor who had a lot to offer. And losing someone like Philip Seymour Hoffman, it hurt us because I don't think we appreciated him the way that we should have when he was here, I think. Maybe.
Two thoughts. First is you make these characters interesting and they come alive. That's talent. Secondly, you made a lot of movies.
I was just saying, I was just looking at that. I was like, I'm getting tired. Looking
just
at
seeing
it.
what you've done.
Yeah, you know, I have to say, I think it has to do is that I'm fortunate. I'm fortunate because I've been offered and given the opportunity to work on some great projects with great people. And I'm at I think any time in someone's life, but I'm definitely at a time in my life, and I have been at a time in my life where I've been available and could afford the time to do these things and give my whole heart to them. So that's really why, you know, it's definitely not because I need to be doing a movie every other week, but it's because I've had the opportunity to work with these people, and so I've jumped at it. Yeah. I was just saying
that's what you do.
That is exactly, it's what I do, but it's also, I was just saying, you know, I think like, well, maybe I won't make a movie for about a year. I think like that's enough. Maybe I'll take a year, I'll do a play, but then I go, don't say that to anybody because, you know, because something like that could happen. But, you know,
I want to talk about this movie too, but the notion of a character actor.
Right.
Do you say, I'm a character actor, I'm proudly so, or do you say, I don't know what that means because I'm an actor and I'll take a big role, a leading role, a small role, I'll just take a role.
Right. I think that, you know, I never saw it as and I hope it's so when you talk about this, you hope you don't sound pretentious, but the fact is that I never saw it as labeled as anything. Right. I just came into it because I wanted to act in the theater, and so I ended up in a college and I was studying it with some teachers, and I was kind of making up what I would use to create what I wanted to do, and with these teachers, and that's what I did. And what I learned was that these people that I was going to play were not me, and that's the thing I had to look at was how were they similar to me and how were they different from me, and I had to cover those bases so I could understand what makes them different and what makes them similar, and therefore I could create this person that's not living my life, it's living someone else's life. And so that's just how I've approached it, and I guess that maybe people call that character acting, but that's just how I approach acting, period.
Just acting.
Yeah.
The most talented working actor today, Daniel Day-Lewis.
The trouble with even trying to answer a question like that, I find, is that everything that comes out of my mouth seems to be like a reductive expression of something that, I mean, I still haven't found a way of really understanding myself what happened in the last couple of years. I'm just amazed by the whole thing. And already it's beginning to take on that strangeness, which is not uncommon to me, where you feel really that somebody else did that. I talked to Stephen a good bit before we started making the film, so it's not like he discovered me ready-made as Abraham Lincoln. But I think that whole thing, which tends to be spoken about on my behalf, because I try not to talk about it too much, but that whole thing takes on a mystique which is not really representative to me of the work itself, because it seems so clear to me that if I and most of my colleagues really do the same thing in different ways maybe, but we go to these great lengths to try and create a world for ourselves, and within that world we try and create an understanding of the lives that we're expressing in that world, and for me that's where the pleasure of the work is. So what would seem crazier to me is to jump in and out of that world, or in and out of the experience of that character, because that's really where I want to be. I guess finally there is some kind of mystery, because it either works or it doesn't work, and you've no idea what makes the difference, but it's just the joy of that work, really.
And we will wrap it up with the talented, wow, a loss for words. No, nothing wrong went happen with your phone just now or your device. Hard for me to come and put words together for everything I feel about Robin Williams and dedicating an episode to Robin Williams will happen. Oh, it will. And I can't wait to do it. Because looking into his mind and his talent, who I believe, beyond all my beliefs, is that there are many artists that I look up to. Like Marlon Brando is my favorite, of course. Robert De Niro, Daniel Day-Lewis, Jack Lemmon, guys like that. They are artists and actors that I have watched and have loved and respected my entire lifetime in appreciating art. But there probably isn't an actor or artist or performer out there that has grabbed me and made me go, unbelievable what this guy can do or could do. It amazes me, his range. And like I said, I'm going to really talk about him in his own episode. And I'm looking forward to doing it. I'm also sort of afraid because there's so much to dive into. It's going to be a little overwhelming, I think. But it's going to be a lot of fun to do that and to talk about him. So I'm looking forward to doing that. So I will wrap this all up with something from Robin Williams.
I mean, which industry? I started off initially studying acting at Juilliard, and then I came home from school and left Juilliard to go home to San Francisco. I couldn't find acting work, so I started doing stand-up comedy. And then the stand-up comedy eventually led me back into acting. So I think it was kind of a backdoor thing. And then I got an audition initially for, if you're talking about getting into film and TV, I had an audition for a kind of a spin-off on Happy Days, because Gary Marshall's kid had seen Star Wars and wanted an alien on Star Wars. And Gary was like, I don't know if you can have an alien on Star Wars. And so I ended up writing this one-off character, Mork, to be on Happy Days. And I auditioned and got the part, and that was cool. It did well. And then eventually there was some commitment that Paramount had to ABC where they had to put a series on. So immediately they threw together Mork, and they found Pam, who had done a series, and they made Mork and Mindy, which was this big break for me. But that was really kind of a lucky coincidence. The Discovery Channel. Just the fact that it talks about animal behavior. I'm watching monkeys most of the day. For me, that's always been my favorite thing to watch on TV. It's always the science channels, big time. My favorite thing, there was a thing on the Discovery Channel once, there was this one bird, beautiful male bird. He had this whole thing, he had plumage like this, and he's doing this dance like, check it out, love me, check me out, love me. And the female just went, no. And you could see the male penguin go, bitch. This bird just was like, bitch, I gotta start over now. But that's why I love watching it. Real animals, real behavior, call now. Just keep going, find that thing you love, because it's tough work. And my father gave me this advice when I said I wanted to be an actor. He said, have a backup profession like welding. But I think if you can find that thing that really gives you joy, that'll be it. Because for me, it's always been comedy and stand-up and acting too, because of exploring behavior. But it's tough work, and if you can get it, even better. Good luck.
Robin Williams. Robin Williams. Hope you enjoyed this different kind of episode of The Actors Room this week. Wanted to go ahead and do something different, like I mentioned before. And please do not forget to leave comments and reviews on iTunes. I am still not getting anything. I'm approaching about 500 downloads, which isn't a lot. But for this young show, I guess it's okay. But yet, I have not received that many comments and reviews and anything, questions. I just got, practically my very first request was from a buddy of mine, and he did it through text message, which is great, Tony. Thank you. And I'm going to go ahead and do that actor that you said. I'm not going to reveal it, and I'm not going to say when I'm going to do him, but I will. But I'm encouraging all of you out there, if you have any requests, an actor that you want me to do, an actress, I will even dive into musicians, something like that. Any kind of entertainer, I think, is fine. So you can throw out any entertainer, and I will go ahead and do homework and research on them. And hopefully you can learn something more about your favorite artist. And I mean, that's what this show is all about. I want people to get involved. I want people to ask questions. I want people to say, hey, your show, it's okay. I would do this or that just to make it a little bit more interesting and to go ahead and change it. Maybe there's people out there who kind of like the show but feel that the format is just off and it needs to be done differently in some way to make it more interesting, taking a leap and doing something else with the show to make it better. I need advice like that. So if you're interested in doing that, please do it. I'm even open for people saying, just stop doing it. You're making a fool out of yourself. I don't come with something like that. Or, make me feel that I'm doing fine, and to sort of keep going in the same direction, but to tighten it up in a certain area or something like that. So, like I said, I have a website. I actually have 2 websites right now. There was one I started at WordPress, and I really like that website because I can put pictures in there and more pictures and things like that I can't do on my Libsyn website. Although Libsyn is more, I don't know, a little more professional maybe, and it does better for my show. In some ways, I still like the WordPress website as well. So I am keeping up with both of those sites. So you can find me, and you can always go onto Facebook, put in the Actors Room, and I have a Facebook page, and I have pictures on there too. You can make comments there, and there's links there to my website, my Twitter account, and I have a Twitter account, The Actors Room, where you can go, and I have pictures on there as well, and I'm constantly trying to put my show out there. I will go ahead and put learn more about River Phoenix, and I'll show a picture of him, and I send that out in the tweeting world, and I hashtag 10 different categories, and it goes out with those hashtags. And because it's so oversaturated, I like to say, that I go ahead and I will send it out, and I will go to that hashtag, and it's already 6 or 7 articles down already, because it's so oversaturated. There's so much information coming in at Twitter that I'm finding it difficult to keep up with it. But I do the best I can with it, and I'm hoping the show will grow and it become a little bit more popular. I noticed that about a week ago when I released my River Phoenix episode, I had a record 50 downloads that day, which is pretty good for one day for a young show. And I'm thinking maybe it's finally kind of, taking that next step. And then it really has gone downhill since then, unfortunately. I went down to I think there was 3 people that listened yesterday. And you just can't, I just can't continue on with this show if 3 people are going to listen to it every day. I just can't do it. There's no way. So I'm hoping and praying. I don't know what else to do. I'm guessing just to kind of, get through it. So I'm just going to keep going and hope for the best. So all of you out there, I hope you had a great weekend this past weekend. This weather has been kind of really rainy here in Cleveland, although the temperature has been pretty nice. We were in the 60s today. I think there was a tornado warning today, so that's how crazy it is out here. Tornadoes in November is very unlikely in these here parts. And I hope that you have a great evening. Enjoy your day. Sit back, relax, put your feet up, put in that movie tonight, one that makes you feel good, one that makes you laugh, or one that makes you cry. Either one is good for you, right? Because you're feeling something. You're getting it out there. We are still watching This Is Us, that miniseries. It's not a miniseries, but a show. I love it. I can't get enough of it. We watch at least 2-3 episodes a night. Almost done with the 2nd season. And they're really making a point to stretch out how the father passed away. And I don't know if that's revealed yet, We haven't gotten there yet. And we have our theories. So we are hooked on that show. So that's what we've been watching. I've been kind of putting movies on hold, although I really have an itch to watch Shutter Island with DiCaprio. I haven't watched it in a couple of years, and it's one of those movies that has a twist, and I actually forgot what the twist does. So it's almost like watching it again. So I will probably watch that soon. So in the meantime, This Is Us is our main focus. Oh, and Stranger Things. We still haven't gotten all the way through the second season of that either. But we've been watching This Is Us so much, we've forgotten about Stranger Things, which is unbelievable when you think about it, because big fan of Stranger Things. Okay, thank you for listening to this special edition of The Actors Room. And once again, thank you for listening. Episode number 17. God bless you. Have a good one.